Human relationships are often beautiful but can also be deeply painful. One of the most unsettling experiences is realizing that someone hurt you deliberately, not by accident, not in a moment of weakness, but with intention. This truth is often too bitter to swallow. We'd rather believe that people hurt us because they were going through something, or because they didn't know any better. Yet Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who revolutionized psychology, offers us a different explanation. One that reveals both the darkness in others and the blind spots in ourselves. This video will explore why people choose to hurt others, how Jung's concept of the shadow explains destructive behavior, and most importantly, how we can break free from the cycle of being emotionally manipulated. The pain of being hurt, intentionally. When someone betrays you, abandons you, mocks your dreams or plays with your emotions, it rarely feels accidental. Their actions carry weight, precision, and often repeat in cycles. This repetition suggests choice rather than chance. Hurting you gave them something: control, power, and most dangerously, a sense of importance. Jung believed that people project their unhealed wounds onto others. If they feel small inside, they make others feel smaller. If they feel powerless, they hurt someone vulnerable to regain an illusion of power. But projection isn't the full story. Sometimes people don't just lash out randomly. They specifically hurt those who remind them of what they lost: innocence, love, kindness, or vulnerability. These qualities, rather than being seen as strengths, become threats. To them, your softness feels like a mirror reflecting everything they can't or won't face within themselves. Instead of healing, they break the mirror. You. Why the soft are targeted. Contrary to popular belief, people don't only prey on the weak. They often target those who are strong in compassion, consistent in love, and loyal even under pressure. Why? Because such people don't leave easily. They forgive. They explain. They rationalize the other person's behavior by saying things like, maybe they're just struggling, or they didn't mean it. Jung warned that when people suppress their shadow self, the darker aspects of their personality, envy, rage, guilt, and insecurity, they become controlled by it unconsciously. Instead of dealing with their shadow, they release it by hurting others, and they target those who are safest, the ones who will tolerate the abuse without immediate retaliation. Your kindness becomes a license for them to keep pushing boundaries. The more you give, the more they take, until you start questioning whether you are the problem. But you were never the problem. The real issue lies in their inability to face themselves. The shadow and emotional projection. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow is essential here. The shadow represents all the parts of ourselves that we deny, repress, or refuse to acknowledge. Our envy, anger, insecurities, and shame. Left unintegrated, the shadow doesn't disappear. Instead, it seeps out in destructive ways, often by projecting onto others. When someone hasn't done their inner work, they use others as scapegoats for their inner turmoil. They lash out, manipulate, and punish not because they truly see flaws in you, but because they can't face their own flaws. In a way, you become a container for their unprocessed pain. This is why your honesty, vulnerability, and love may provoke not gratitude, but hostility. You threaten their facade. If they wear a mask of strength and perfection, your emotional authenticity exposes the cracks. And for them, breaking you is easier than healing themselves. When hurting becomes pleasure. It's comforting to think that hurt people, but Jung's work pushes us to face a darker reality. Not everyone hurts others because they are broken. Some hurt others because it gives them pleasure. Emotional manipulation can create a sense of superiority. For example, Making you cry reassures them that they still matter. Watching you chase after their affection gives them power. And using your vulnerability against you feeds their ego. In psychological terms, many manipulators use intermittent reinforcement, a cycle of rewarding and punishing behavior. They idealize you, then devalue you. They hurt you, then reward you with brief kindness. They disappear, then return with charm. This keeps you guessing, chasing, and emotionally hooked, similar to how gambling keeps players addicted. While you are trapped in confusion, self-doubt, and longing, they feel control, and that control is intoxicating. Childhood wounds and repeated scripts. Many destructive behaviors trace back to childhood. If someone was controlled, mocked, or conditionally loved as a child, they may unconsciously repeat those scripts as adults. Without shadow integration, they equate love with pain, intimacy with control, connection with fear. So when you show them softness, honesty, and emotional openness, it doesn't feel safe, it feels alien. They reject it, not because it's bad, but because it doesn't match the story they unconsciously live by. Instead of embracing healing, they drag you into their chaos. If you're not aware of your own unhealed wounds, you may mistake this chaos for passion, drama for chemistry, or punishment for love. Jung reminds us that knowing our own darkness is essential for dealing with the darkness of others. Recognizing the manipulation. Jung's insights help us see the difference between misunderstanding and manipulation. If someone repeatedly hurts you and blames it on you, that's not an accident. If they make you feel guilty for needing love, that's emotional starvation. And if they vanish when you need them most, but reappear when you move on, that's not love, it's control. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward freedom. Writing them down, saying them aloud, and looking at them without denial makes the unconscious conscious. And once conscious, you can no longer be controlled in the same way. Breaking the cycle. Breaking free from toxic dynamics doesn't begin with revenge, but with restraint. Jung taught that when the shadow becomes conscious, you gain a power no one can take from you. Here are 5 transformative steps based on Jungian wisdom. 1. Stop over-explaining. When you repeatedly explain your pain, you train others to ignore it. Speak once, make your boundary clear, then act. 2. Detach without drama. You don't need to announce your exit or prove your point. Quietly withdraw your emotional energy and let your absence speak. 3rd, do shadow work. Ask yourself, why did I attract this dynamic? What part of me confuses suffering with love? By facing your own shadow, you stop repeating toxic patterns. 4th, rebuild boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, but doors with locks. Not everyone deserves access to your softness or loyalty. 5. Never beg. Begging for love, attention, or closure is self-harm disguised as hope. The moment you beg, you hand over your dignity. Choose dignity, even in loneliness. Reclaiming yourself. One of the hardest truths is that those who hurt us most often knew exactly how we wanted to be loved. They used our dreams, hopes, and vulnerabilities as a map. That's why letting go feels impossible. It felt real. But as Jung would remind us, what felt perfect was often just bait. Healing begins not with asking, why did they hurt me? But, why did I let them stay? This shift turns the focus inward, where true transformation lies. You are not broken. You are becoming conscious. The parts of you that were erased in the name of love can be reclaimed. You don't need to shrink for others to feel big. You don't need to beg for love from those who only understand control. Final reflection. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." For many of us, the cycle of being hurt Forgiving too quickly and staying too long feels like fate. But it isn't fate. It's unconscious patterns playing out. The moment you recognize the pattern, you hold the power to break it. You don't need revenge. You don't need long explanations. You don't even need to feel okay immediately. You only need to reclaim your boundaries, your self-respect, and your awareness. The darkest truth is this: some people hurt you because they enjoy it. But the brightest truth is this: once you see it clearly, you can walk away. And in walking away, you don't just save yourself. You break a cycle that may have lasted generations.